So if you could have a billboard, what would it say?
Ooh, man. It's like a life quote kind of billboard, or is this a marketing like trying to sell business? What kind of billboard?
Sure, exactly. What is your legacy? What do you want to leave behind? What would you like to get people thinking?
Oh man. I got to go with the wrestling quote I used to have in our wrestling room. Tough times don't last, tough people do.
Love it. And what's your number one productivity hack?
Um, the days I'm most productive, I wake up knowing exactly what my priorities are for the next day. So I would say write down your top, two or three priorities for the next day the night before. So you can, while you're sleeping, you're already contemplating how to attack it when you're attacking it and go from there.
Name one tip or trick that investors can implement in their business today.
Um, Always have someone smarter than you. And when I say smarter, I mean in that specific area.
Mhm.
Double check any questions or areas that you have a concern on. So if it's
Love it.
underwriting, bring in someone who really is strong there. If it's construction, bring on a contractor, someone who really knows that part.
Right.
Trust the
Never be the
experts.
smartest person in the room. Look for a different room. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. So, time for our random question. This is when things get really wild. Just tell me when to stop cutting the deck.
Stop.
All right. Which celebrity would you most like to see in person?
Oh, in person. The Rock. I'm a big fan of The Rock. I used to be a huge wrestling fan, and it's just amazing to me how far he has grown and gone. Like I remember when he first debuted in WWF, and if you would have told me this guy would basically be the biggest celebrity on the planet, I would have, it was unbelievable. He couldn't even he wasn't even popular when he first debuted in wrestling. So yet alone to be a huge movie star, an international
Yeah.
icon, I think is huge. And I just think more than anything, we talked about resiliency and all those things. Like he embodies that. It's so I think he'd be the person.
Great choice. My son has been reading his biography. So, love it. Somebody that I appreciate as well. Can you name a book that's helped to forge you as a leader and as an entrepreneur and why?
A really good question. As a leader and as an entrepreneur, I will tell you one of the books that helped me very early on is oh man, is it up there? Oh, I don't. Yep. How to Sell Yourself. How to Sell Yourself by Joe Girard. And it's a book I read in college, or right after college when I was an intern. And the reason I mentioned this one is I was very insecure about myself because I got into this internship. I was not the first choice. It was clear. I was supposed to get a call. They were selecting people on say a Thursday. I didn't get a call Friday. I didn't get a call Saturday. I didn't get a call the next week. I didn't get a call to like the next Saturday, right? So about five or six people had turned this opportunity down before they got to me. And when I got that job, the one thing I thought was I knew I wasn't the first choice, but I wanted to make sure that I was going to be the final choice once I got there. And that book was very pivotal in me shifting my mindset. And Joe talks about how he was the number one salesman for a number of years, and his dealership actually stopped. They ended up closing on both Saturday and Sunday at one point. So now he only had 5 days to sell cars when he used to have 6 days, and how he still managed to sell as many cars in 5 days instead of six. And the book just went to a lot of philosophies that helped me train myself on how to win no matter what someone else is saying. And I think it's an attitude and a spirit that I feel like I can always kind of go to. So I think that's a really good one that anyone should check out if they're interested in succeeding in any level at anything.
What is the biggest hurdle you've overcome in your business in the last year, and what did it teach you?
In the last year, we invested in some marketing tactics and strategies that just didn't have the results we were looking for. What it taught me was, and I would say too, I probably handed off um, too much responsibility. So I was, when I made those hires, I kind of said, okay, great, this is handled. Kind of kept an eye on it, but not with the same level that I did before. So it just taught me that, at the end of the day, we want to hire great people. We want to trust them, but also empower them. But part of that is, as a leader, we've got to stay in control and stay in a position where we can advise and grow and make sure that everyone's really clear on what the outcomes are we're looking for. So
Can you send us out with a quote to help forge our listeners as leaders and entrepreneurs?
There's a book I just wrapped. It's the 10x is easier than 2x. And one of the things they always talk about is the gap in the game, and part of it is recognizing how far you've come as opposed to recognizing that maybe you haven't reached the goals that you have. So I think that's really important. As an actual quote, I would probably say, I don't know if I have an actual quote. I don't live by a whole lot of quotes, but I will say that mindset I think is really key, is just recognizing how far you've come, but also being clear on what goals you have moving forward.
All right, outstanding, John. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I want to make sure, though, that before we go, that our listeners have an opportunity to reach out to you. So, what's the best way to reach out to John Casmon?
Yeah, the best thing is really go to our website. So casmoncapital.com. We have a lot of resources on our website, from the podcast, which you can find there. We also have our sample deal package. We have some other stuff. We have a mastermind group there. So lots of great information that's available on the website. So check that out, casmoncapital.com.
All right, outstanding. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your knowledge and experience with our audience.
Thank you, George. Appreciate you having me again.